Oh, don't mind me scratching my ear. I'm like Carol Burnett. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Vito DINO podcast. This is episode number, I think, 57. My name is Vito Delsante. His name is Dean Haspiel.
Hi everyone, I'm Dean Haspiel.
I have to keep reminding myself that last week was my Lawrence Taylor anecdote. So yeah, this is 57. Uh,
So 57, I was thinking about 57 and I was telling Jen how we were doing our 57th episode
mhm.
and how, oh, that's how old I am. And she said, "You're not 57." I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "You're 58." I was like, "What are you talking about? I'm 58." I totally forgot I was 58. And then I
Yeah.
got depressed. I don't know why, like 57 felt good and 58 made me feel extra old, you
It's
know?
very weird because I don't turn 53 until June, but I keep saying that I'm 53 years old. And like I don't know why, like as of January I started doing that or whatever. And then Michelle, she was on the phone with somebody and she goes, and I don't hear the conversation except her end. And she goes, "No, I'm 51." And I'm like, "You're not 51, you're 52." And I'm like, "Oh no, you're not like me.
You
I'm
haven't
not,
jumped ahead. It's
yeah."
weird because when you're anticipating, that happens to me too. I'll start to assume the age I'm about to become, right?
Hmm.
Like I keep thinking my dad's 88. He's turning 88 on February 20th.
Uh-huh. Hey,
But
that's
for a
that's
while
Sadie's
I was like,
birthday.
he's 88, but he's 87. Anyway, what?
That's Sadie's birthday too.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And I'm going to be in Orlando, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, yeah.
There was a mistake I made in our podcast last week when we were talking about some of our favorite black cartoonists,
Yes.
and I said Kerry Gamble, and what I meant to say was Keith Pollard.
Ah, okay. I thought you knew
So,
something I didn't know because I've never seen a picture of Kerry Gamble. I'm like, okay, sure. I think
I
I
mean,
actually agreed with you too. I was like, oh, okay.
well, he draws black. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Everybody draws black. They use a pencil and an ink.
Oh my! I draw blue,
Oh, that's true. You do
and
blue and
actually,
red.
that's a double. No, but that's a double entendre because not only do I draw with a blue pencil, but like real quick, I draw blue.
Yeah, baby.
Like, and hopefully, well, we'll get to that in a little while.
Billy and Jane,
Um,
right?
Billy and Jane. So this is the last. We can talk about it quickly now. I have a four-page story that I'm doing that will comprise the 40 pages of Antimatter number one, right?
Mhm.
So I completed the 24-page COVID cop insurrection. I have an AI Joe story. I have about 6 pages of Red Hook one-pagers, little vignettes, and then I wanted to have like Billy Dogma and Chessface be in the comic as well in the debut issue, and I had 4 pages. So I wrote, and I don't think I sent you the script, but I wrote a story called Tough Crowd
Mhm.
that
You told
is,
me about it, but I don't know that I
yeah,
read it.
basically the meeting between Billy Dogma, Jane Legit, and Chessface.
Right.
Okay. So, and it was really hard, man. I forgot how hard it is to write a short story. And I know that's part of like kind of like a master class of like Archie comics are like 5 page stories basically. And I
Right.
think Mark Wade used to say, if you want to learn how to write a comic, try and write a 5 page Archie comic, you know.
I've
Um,
written 3-page Scooby Doo's.
and you've done that, and I've done that, and it is hard, but I forget how hard. You
You know,
know,
it's funny because like it seems like that might not be the case now, but it seems like that was the method by which we were tested to break in. Like write short stories, like and like you're
well,
saying,
that would have been in not when we were breaking in, but like James DeMatteis writing a 5 pager for Time Warp that Steve Ditko would draw or
right,
something,
right, right.
or those weird anthologies that would have 3 or 4 stories, sometimes a 1 pager, sometimes 6 to 8, 5 usually, whatever.
Mhm.
And that was like a testing ground. And it is harder to write a 1 pager than anything else,
Right.
And actually, what we'll get to that later, but I want to talk about your. Are you still drawing? Are you still trying to draw that 1 pager?
I have not done that. Again, I've been working on layouts for a story for the Stray Beast Within story. Like I'm doing a couple of revisions on the layouts that we already have for David. But I've been drawing. I've just not been drawing that. It's weirdly, last night I was doing something on the computer, and I have like my medicine, like my
Mm-hmm.
pills that I have to take to keep me alive, and I was just drawing
To
like a
keep you
pill.
from stop from being the Eeyore of comics.
Yeah, yeah, basically.
That's what the
I,
pills are.
but yeah, I was drawing like one of the pill bottles, just like sitting here just doodling, and like just looking at the shape of it and going, all right, here's the curve and just like, just kind of doing a little bit of practice. I have not thought about the sorry, Steve. I have not thought about the one pager since we've had Steve on the show, but I have been just doodling and like doing, like I said, those layouts and stuff. I think I showed you guys last week or the week before a couple of the layouts I did, but
That an artist would like. So when you're doing the layouts right now, are you doing it for your own figuring out your own story and writing it and not showing to the artist, or is this for the artist to look at?
these are for the artist. But I have done that. Like I have done really rudimentary. I'll give you a good for instance. There was a Stray script that I wrote. I think it's for issue 7. And I was trying to figure out how to do this one sequence. Um, and it's very busy. It's very involved. And
I
I
think you
have,
talked about this. Is this the not the helicopter
oh, that's
scene?
in the first issue, but yeah, I did do that. But this one that I'm talking about here is I was trying to do a layout, very Will Eisner by way of Mark Buckingham layout, like he used to do in Fables. And he would have like these end pieces on every the edge of every page. Like it's always this beautiful, like kind of fairy drawings or like just like woodland type of things. And I was like, I want to do that to kind of give the reader an idea of where Stray is in time and space. So he's going through a building. So the sides of the pages are the building. And so like as you go, you see like he's now on the 8th floor. And so like there's a little dot on the 8, like so I was trying to figure out how to do that, keep everything in the interior parts of it as if it were still a real regular comic and try to not take away from the space that an artist would use. And so I was trying to like literally, how would this look on a page? Is this too much? Is this too busy? Am I asking for too, like just all kinds of things that I usually do
Mm-hmm.
when I'm
Mm-hmm.
writing. And so I found a way to do it and to convey the information. And so but I had to do that layout, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
like trying to
Mm-hmm.
conjure a Will Eisner type of layout so that the eye is following the action going left to right. But the problem is Stray is going up into a building, like going up to the penthouse. So
Mm-hmm.
he's going counter in your eye. He's going counter the way
Your eye goes down the page and
right,
he's going up the page. Yeah,
right.
that's a fun challenge. I've done stuff like that. I've played and toyed with like basically the geography of a character,
Mhm.
Um, it's almost like what is it on the phone when you pin somebody, you can follow them or that kind of a thing, where
Uh,
do you know what I'm talking about? Like
like a
where
locate your phone type of thing where
yeah, like locate, but then you can be following. It's oh, what it also reminds me of is Family Circus.
yeah, yes. That was
The
another thing I was
little
thinking of
the
too.
little foot pattern kind of, where do they go to get where they arrive?
Mhm.
There's only two times that I remember in my comics career in collaboration where I was having a tough time with figuring out an aspect of the script. One of them was Batman 66.
Mhm.
I believe it was the Ma Barker issue that I drew that Jeff Parker wrote. And Jeff Parker is a great writer. He's also a great artist.
Yeah, I was going
So
to say.
he knows how to write a comic for an artist, but there was one sequence that I could not figure out. It involved a car, Ma Barker going over a bridge, all this like one of those things where it feels like you have to draw 2 or 3 actions a panel.
Mhm.
And I was having a tough time figuring out something that he had written, and he graciously like just sent me a layout. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, now I know what you mean,
Mhm.
like, and I might have even used that layout. And then the second time that I remember a few years ago, I drew a Superman 10 pager uh, uh, that Cena Grace wrote. And Cena
Mhm.
Grace is
Right. I
also
remember. This was for the
an artist.
anniversary, I think.
It was some kind of I think Superman had gone to outer space for a couple of years, and then he has a son that took over. And
Mhm.
anyway, it was the Jimmy Olsen, like they reunite in this story. And I was having a little bit of a tough time getting the sentiment of his story. Like it was a good story, but for some reason it was clashing with some of my sensibilities. And I kept asking Cena, did you lay this out as you wrote it? Like, and it wasn't like a difficult layout. I just wanted to
Mhm.
get the sensibility of certain things. And he was like, well, yeah. And he would send me, and I would be like, oh, okay, I might just use that. Why not? It tells the story,
I
I mean,
had,
I used to call it voguing,
uh,
when you just try to play with the page in such weird and fun ways. In fact, I'm going to show you something shortly. But sometimes you can get too clever. And I think we've
yeah,
talked about that.
I had to, for issue 6 of the current Stray story, I had to figure out a double page spread where this weird code was shown on a building in lights, and someone had to see it, and the code would, they were brainwashed, so they had to see this code, and it would break them from the brainwashing. So it was, and like the artist, I let the artist Marcello Mueller, I let him do it first, and I was like, we're not getting something. So what I did was, I don't know why I do this much work, or not even why, but even how I do this much work. But I literally laid it out in Google SketchUp or something,
Mhm.
like where you move things in 3 dimensions. And like I literally did a cutout of a figure, like, and copy pasted and just like put everything like, this is where it is. This is what needs to go here. Like this is, and you got to make sure that it's on the other side of the fold of the paper. So that way everyone sees it. So he's on this side. It's on, almost like rule of thirds. But he's on this side. This thing is on this side. We can't have it in the middle. Like it was just all this work, and it's like, I'm not a visual artist, I'm not I'm not an artist, or anything like that, but like the amount of layouts and panel corrections and things like that that I've done just on this mini series would astound you. uh like, just because, like, again, like, I'm starting to draw now, and
Right. And you're
this
starting to understand more of the other side of
oh yeah, and
the
it's not like
labor and challenge of making comics,
yeah, it's not
even
like I
more
never
so.
did and
Oh, I
never
know, I
appreciated
know.
it, but it's just when you're putting your ideas on, paper, just black and white typed, or word processor or whatever, like when you're the realization of what you can do on a page gets like slashed in half really quick, because like
Mhm.
you're like, oh, unlimited budget, we can throw explosions here, explosions there, and then you're like, but I can't fit the words in the panel, so we got to do something, and it's funny that we're probably going to talk about this Todd McFarlane thing about story and art, and this whole debate that never goes away. And we've debated this a million times, from 1938 to now, I'm sure. And the the prevailing feeling that I have whenever I'm doing stuff like this is, um, I don't I don't want to cover up art, so I have to figure out a way when I'm lettering to fit the words in there. And if I have to adjust a word or use a thesaurus to change a word to something that's smaller, I will. But at the same time, it's like I can't not teach an artist how to draw a panel.
Mhm.
Like, you got to understand we're doing two things at the same time. Like, we are
Mhm.
telling a story and we are showing a story, and you're
Mhm.
making me not tell the story. So I have to get you where I am to show and tell.
Yep. Absolutely. And the funny part always is when you finally arrive at this solution, and I'm not saying it's easy necessarily to draw sometimes, but it's easy to understand. The clarity is there.
Mhm.
And then people pick up and they go, "Oh yeah, I understand." Like, of course. What? And you're like, "You have no idea
Right.
what it took to look so easy,
Yeah.
like to look that easy.
Or,
And it's true with movies and everything else.
like
So,
with that sequence in the first Stray issue where he's swinging across the buildings. Again, like, I knew specifically what I wanted. I knew specifically how I wanted to be drawn. I knew what like there are four actions going on at the same time. There's a helicopter, there's strays swinging, there are soldiers going up a fire escape, and there's Stray's car coming into shot.
Yeah,
So there's four things happening in four panels, and
yeah,
like it's the natural sequence of it and all. And the thing is, when people see it, they're like, "Oh, that looks so cool." It's like if you only knew what it took me to explain to a Brazilian artist whose first language isn't English how this had to be done, you would not think it's cool at all.
right.
But
No,
it looks great. I can't take that away.
no, it's definitely difficult. So I'm just going to show a sneak peek of this. Well, the first page of this 4-page tough crowd is, it's Billy and Jane kind of, you know, making love, but maybe she hit him in the face, and he's like, "All right, whatever, I'm used to that." And then you notice that the angle of the ceiling is starting to change, and you see how that's the bed is kind of like going
Yeah,
sideways and everything, right? And then they're like, he's being thrown into her, and he kind of looks up, and they're looking like, "What the hell's going on in this room?" Right? Besides their toxic lovemaking. And then I did a 2-page spread. So here, nice big 2-page.
oh, I love it.
And I don't even know, can I even show like, so what's happened is that the building's at an angle, and it's going to have like title. And there's also like a whole narrative thing going on, right? There's a lot of words going on. But
Mhm.
Chessface was walking to a gig, and as he was walking by, this building was starting to, go sideways and slip. So he's like, you know, holding it up. And then we got Billy and Jane
Still going.
still going, and like, and then they started talking. This is how they're meeting him for the first time, because he's gotten a gig in Trip City, like to do
Uh,
some stand-up comedy. And also it's based, and it's inspired by, and I don't think we can find it quick enough, and I should have had it ready. There's a great drawing that Jack Kirby did of The Thing, and it's a frontal shot in Fantastic Four where he's holding up the building with his back that was starting to crumble, and people have to run out.
uh-huh.
Do you remember this drawing at all?
It sounds very familiar. I mean,
Yeah,
it
and
sounds.
it's a frontal shot. It's not the side one like I did, where there's
Mhm.
where you see the angle. But I always wanted to pay homage to that in some way, and so I got to do it, and that took all day to ink, and of course, color and everything else is going to make it more dynamic and
Right.
fun. So, uh, yeah, man, there's a lot of naked people in this first issue.
My favorite thing, like looking at that one panel, I think it was the last panel of the first page. It reminds me of, you ever see the movie Boomerang?
Uh,
Eddie Murphy movie?
yeah, a long time ago.
Okay. It's just this scene always plays in my head because it's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Um, so Melvin Van Peebles is playing an editor, and they
Hmm.
just finished shooting a commercial, and it's Eddie Murphy and Robin Givens. They're producing a commercial together, and or it might have been Halle Berry. I apologize. And it's a commercial where Grace Jones is one of the characters, and she whips off her shirt, but it's shot from behind her. And then
Hmm.
somebody goes, "Is that a nipple?" And then he goes, "No, it's the shadow of a nipple." And he goes, "No, zoom in." And then Melvin Van Peebles has a cigar in his mouth and takes out the cigar. And he do this. He's got the cigar. He goes, "It's a nipple because I'm drooling."
So stupid.
It is, but it's great.
Oh my God. Well, I love that. I think I saw that movie. I don't remember
It's,
that.
that
And I'm
movie is
sending you
not underrated, but it's perfectly rated. It's like right in the middle there.
right, right, right. No, and that's another thing. Like if you looked at the page, it's very safe. I always joke that my sex scenes look like something in an Archie comic, you know, in a way. Now I
No
just
way.
emailed you that page. I don't know if you can show it. And again, it's not the approach I took, but I always love this page. Um, and it's not like a photo from the actual comic book,
Uh,
but it's like probably the one that how it got reprinted in the Masterworks or something like that,
right. Uh,
which is a little cleaner. So here we go. We're going to show this right now to the folks who watch us. And yeah, you can see like He's just holding it up from the bottom. In fact, you know what? I also paid homage to this in my Wood God story. I did a 4-page Wood God for Bizarro
That's
Comics. No,
no,
not
no.
Bizarro. Strange Tales.
Yes.
Bizarro's DC. Strange Tales, where a lot of indie cartoonists did, their takes on superheroes. And there is a shot where he's holding that building back up, and the Yancey Street Gang are alerting him to some that Wood God is trying to make a move on Alicia Masters, his girlfriend. Anyway, yeah. So now I've done that twice. I mean, that's just I love that page so much.
It's a crazy page when you think about it because he's the funny thing is that we forget about the Thing, I think, is that the Thing isn't as big as the Hulk. And
He's shorter than Reed. He's
yeah,
supposed to be shorter than Reed and not that big, which always confuses me because when someone over draws him, um, or too big, I think that's wrong.
mhm.
But there is a moment where like Jack, sometimes you go because you know how to draw him, it's clobbering time, and make a fist and clobber stuff
It's
and
dynamic. Yeah.
but sometimes he does look like just a schmo in the corner.
Yeah, just like he does there.
I know, I
The
know.
thing that I'm
He's a
thinking
little
about
bit
is
little. Yeah.
like Jack wasn't very tall, and the thing
Right.
is, I sent you this video on Instagram about stand-ins, like or what are self inserts is what they use of characters and creators, and like who they put, to be them in the comics.
Wait,
So
did you send this recently?
yeah, I sent it a couple days ago.
Oh, maybe I saw it.
Matt Wagner, which would be
Mage. Wait.
Matchstick. That's right.
Or yeah, yeah.
Marv Wolfman. Do you know who his self insert was?
So he did it himself?
Well, George drew it, but yeah, he put himself in the Teen Titans.
Oh,
Wasn't
oh, it was well either be Are you saying, he was Marv Wolfman in the comic book?
no, he was another character that was basically him.
I'm gonna guess.
Uh-huh.
Uh, what was the vamp? Is it Blade? No. What did he write? What was the?
Well, this was in Teen Titans, in New Teen
Oh,
Titans.
what Teen Titans?
Yeah,
No,
he
I don't know.
it was Terry Long, who everyone hated. It was the guy who ended up marrying Wonder Girl,
Right.
which I think is hysterical. So Marv wanted to marry Wonder Girl, I guess.
Oh my God. So
You know what I
he.
mean?
So wait a second. Time out.
Yeah,
Marv Wolfman has a beard.
yeah, and he did. And Terry Long did as well. As I keep
So
reading up,
Terry Long was his avatar in Teen Titans, and
basically, yeah,
was he an older man?
he was older than Donna, but he wasn't an old man. Like
Got it.
he
Oh,
was,
that's weird.
I would say
I mean,
more
I kind of
mature.
remember that.
Here,
Right.
let me try to find him a picture of him because unfortunately there's two Terry Longs, and one of them was a football player, and it's like, yeah, that's not the guy. He was a college
Who,
professor of Donna Troy's, apparently. And
um, I
yeah,
feel was that controversial? Was that like
I
was
feel
there?
like it wasn't comparatively to, say, Deathstroke and Terra.
That's what I'm thinking of. Okay. Oh, and you know what? I was thinking of an orange-haired guy. So Terry Long was the orange-haired dude. That was a Marv Wolfman kind of avatar.
Right,
Yeah, it was Deathstroke and Terra that was ruffling feathers. Okay,
right,
because of the age discrepancy, right? Like she was
right.
really young. Okay,
Yeah, she was,
right.
she was like 13, I think.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Yeah, she
Okay,
was really young.
that's
Let's
that's
see.
not right.
We just mentioned Jack Kirby and the Thing. Stan Lee was apparently he made J. Jonah Jameson his avatar. Uh,
Wait, was that something he said, Stan Lee?
I think, I mean, I can't prove that for sure, but according to this video, and it seems like when you think about it, the editor, like it
Yeah,
seems
but he was also like he called Spider-Man a menace to society. So I guess he would have. We all know what Jack did with Stan
well, I
Lee.
mean, Ditko and Stan didn't exactly
No, but did
that
Ditko ever draw like Jack Kirby in New Gods created a Stan Lee avatar?
right. And Dan
I'm
Clowes,
forgetting the character's name. What was it?
Funky Flashman.
Funky Flashman, right? and that was in the New Gods. But did Steve Ditko ever? I know he drew him and Stan like at a a wedding or something. I think that Steve did do that once, but I don't know if he ever created like in Mr. A or any of his like creator own stuff, like a
Here's
Stanley avatar.
the funny thing. This video claims that Steve Ditko's avatar, his self-insert, is Mr. A, which I
Yo,
would
he's Peter
say,
Parker, man. He's Peter
that's
Parker.
what I would say.
If
Like,
you had met Steve Ditko like I did, he was an old Peter Parker, you know?
I would agree. And I mean, like the facial features and stuff from everything I've seen looks like Steve Ditko.
Right, right.
Grant Morrison did the easiest one of all.
Uh, uh, um, he even looks like him. He's wearing glasses. He's bald. What's the name of the character?
Well, you're thinking of King Mob from the
Yeah,
Invisible, and
King
that's what
Mob.
I would have guessed. But the easiest one of all was he was himself in Animal Man. He was the writer.
Right, right,
So, I
right,
mean,
right.
there's that.
Okay,
Then
all
there,
right.
but I mean, I think also, I forget the name of the character that's going through it, like going through like a mental breakdown in Flex Metallo. Um, I forget the name of the character, but I always felt like that was ostensibly Grant writing himself into the story as well.
Sure,
Uh,
sure, sure, sure.
Warren Ellis, they say, um, Pete Wisdom from Excalibur, but I would also say Elijah Snow from Planetary is a very Warren character. Um,
But Transmetropolitan is that's where I'm thinking the
Spider Jerusalem,
Spider Jerusalem, right?
yeah.
That to me is the most. But you know what's weird about Warren Ellis? You're right. Like I almost feel like all his characters are him. Like if there's one guy,
I've
one
said it
writer,
a lot. Like Warren's always got his voice in one character in every one of his stories. In The Authority, I would say it's Jack Hawksmoor, but you could also say a little bit of Jenny Sparks as well. Um, when he
Desolation Jones, he is Desolation Jones.
Absolutely.
Like
Warren's very good about like having himself portrayed in it. So my question to you is, have you ever done a self-insert? I mean, a part of me would say Red Hook, but famously, Dean Haspiel has met the Red Hook in a comic. So have you ever
so
inserted?
yeah, the first time I put myself and named the character, it was in early Billy Dogma comics, and I want to say in the mid to late '90s. And he sometimes hung out with a cartoonist, kind of a depressed cartoonist named Jack Flashback,
Oh,
and
okay.
that was my first kind of like me trying to draw myself. And we're not talking about autobio comics; we're
No,
talking
no, no,
about like fictional versions.
right.
And I well, like you said, recently I put myself in the Red Hook world. I'm also going to be a version of me as in Antimatter, in the COVID cop story. I'm trying to think of other, sometimes you inadvertently draw yourself, but intentionally an avatar. I'm sure I've done a couple of others. Okay. Well, in that Superman comic, for instance, that I drew, that Cena Grace wrote
Mhm.
a few years ago, we have a panel where they're talking about Superman's son and being a hero, and I just mirrored the famous Action Comics #1 where it's the son holding up the car.
Mm.
And you know how someone's running towards you afraid with their hands on their head with it? I drew myself. But that's just a cameo. That's not like an actual
No, no, no.
character with lines or anything.
You drew me in our story for Speakeasy Fallout. I was one
That's right.
of those. Um,
That's right.
I've shown up as a victim of the Punisher in Captain Marvel by Chris Cross. I was also in a cameo shot drawn by Jeremy Hawn in a Civil War tie-in.
Wow.
Like I'm looking because he's like Jeremy said to me, he gave me the page and he goes, "Well, I had to draw you because it takes place in New York and you're the only person that I really know in New York that wouldn't mind me doing it." I was like, "No,
That's funny. You were also, I believe, a Star Wars character drawn by Mark Chiarello.
I am. I am in the one of the older books. It was like the definitive chronology of the Star Wars universe, and I was Darth Sion. So every year around May the 4th, I always put my picture drawn by, painted, I should say, by Mark Chiarella, posed for in the DC offices where he's got no shirt on. So I literally had to take my shirt off and pose for Mark Chiarello, taking pictures of me. God, I never want to see those pictures. But yeah,
I once did a signing, well, with Harvey Picar for The Quitter, and what they would do is before we would go do the official signing like at a store or something, they would have a signing for the staff
mm,
who all got their copies and they like to meet the author kind of thing. So I remember, and actually, well, so at one point somebody asked me to take my shirt off, and Harvey's looking at me like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, what do you?" Like he didn't know about this thing that I sometimes do. So I took off my shirt, I took some pictures with different people. There's Harvey. And then he actually wrote about it in American Splendor, and I
right.
drew it,
I remember.
which was
Boy,
like
that's a lot.
it's a little meta. It's like putting a hat in a hat, right?
Yes,
Like,
totally. I think
so
for me also, I did. Uh, there's parts of me that are stray, but not exactly 100. Like just a change of name, definitely. And then there's parts of me in FCHS, uh, in the main character Hector, where he's got a very Spanish name, but he's named after the Greek hero. But it leads to some inadvertent childhood racism, like teenage racism that's like back in the 90s would have been considered harmless compared to today. Um, but yeah, like there are parts of me and stuff, but I've never actually just like one for one with a name change like Marv did. Or who else do I have on this list? Steve Gerber in that video. Apparently his self-insert is Destroyer Duck, which I would have thought Howard the Duck, but I think because Destroyer Duck was done as an answer to like I think ownership claims and stuff, I feel like that's why it's Destroyer Duck and not Howard.
drawn by Jack Kirby, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I feel like there are others that I'm not thinking about, and I do think ultimately most creators, a lot of their characters, even the good guys, the bad guys, everybody, you have a little bit of piece of yourself in all those
oh
characters,
sure.
So, in order to understand them, you know,
What's funny is I've always tried to figure out a bald superhero, and it doesn't work. Like for some reason, whenever you have a bald comic book character, they're always a villain. Like Egghead, Lex Luthor, like it's always a bad guy. Usually
wait a second,
a bad guy.
Professor X.
He's got his moments. He was reading kids' minds, you
Well, I was
know.
gonna say what's funny about him being bald is I guess he had to clear the hair so he could read the minds better or something,
Yeah,
like. But
cerebral.
oh come on, I was gonna say Doc Savage, but he's an anti-hero and he's not bald.
No,
Uh, but then oh come on, I mean Bruce Willis made it okay, right? Or
oh,
when he had
sure.
hair though, but he didn't have hair in the sequel in like the later sequels. I think he was
Right,
bald.
right. In Die Hard,
Uh, but I
but
think
that's
bald
different.
is.
That's different. That's not a superhero versus a action hero. That's totally
What
different.
about, well, the
You could say
Vision has
Jason
turned bad.
Statham. You could say Vin Diesel. You can say The Rock. But even The Rock, he played Black Adam. Black Adam traditionally has hair. You know,
Right,
it's just that The Rock doesn't. And they wanted The
right,
Rock's character. So again, like, and Black Adam's an anti-hero, if not a villain outright sometimes. So
right, right. Huh. All right. Well, I don't think that's totally true. Or, but you know what? Then write it and
I will
get it done.
say, Matt Major, our buddy, did create a character. I had this thing, like I'm doing a book called Hellhounds, which is a Stray team up comic. That's just a one shot we're going to try to put out later on in the year, where Stray teams up with two other creator owned dog themed characters. And so Matt Major created one who's not going to be in this story, but it'll probably be in another, named Bloodhound, that is modeled after me. So
Mm,
I will
cool.
eventually be in a Stray story. Probably not as a
Nice.
superhero, though, probably as a supervillain.
I don't think I've ever done. Have I ever done I mean, a dog character like in terms of the one I created.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever done a cat. I mean, I've drawn like Tigra or whatever, and
That's not the same thing.
but that's not the same as creating. Like, I guess I have strayed away from that, in a way. I don't know why.
You know, it's
Uh,
funny? I found a sketch that you did at a New York Comic Con. It was a sketch cover that you did in blue, funny enough, of Stray on a sketch cover of Stray. I don't know who owns it, but like it's a really cool looking. It doesn't look it. Funny enough, it doesn't look like your art, because it's not inked and stuff like that. So,
right, right.
but it's very. I'll find the picture and I'll send it to you. Like
Oh, that's weird. I don't even remember that. Somebody asked me to do on a Stray blank cover you had or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah. For the first
Wow.
issue we ever did, we
I'm about to go to a show next week where part of the show is to be able to draw commissions. I do not like doing it. I don't like doing commissions, man. I have a tough time with that. All right, well, yeah, real quick. So unless you had more on that topic.
No, I just think it's a very interesting thing that like I said, I've never thrown myself 100% into a character like that, but
Mhm.
I do like I've very slowly been working on this kind of meta textual superhero story that stars my kids and Matt Major's kids teaming up, where Sadie's basically a character in Stray already, who's her name is Runt. But James like it was always the one that I was trying to figure out, and I figured it out. So it's this thing where they're just a bunch of kids playing basically superhero, like they're not taking it seriously, and they have to fight a video game boss. Basically,
Right, right, right.
it's very like at one point in the story, we keep talking to Matt like he's in the room, but because he's the artist, he's here. Like this is the comic, and Matt's here. So we would turn and look straight into the camera because we're talking to Matt, you know,
Right.
and like
Kind of like Animal Man.
kind of like Animal Man, almost like that Bugs Bunny cartoon or Daffy Duck cartoon,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Duck a Muck, I think it is, um,
Yeah.
where they do that. So like that, so I'm in there. Oh, and then there's the famous. I think I've told this story before. Um, when I was supposed to do a book called Slam Seven, which is Stan Lee and the Magnificent Seven or something like that, and it was Chris Cross and I were given the opportunity to pitch it, and we famously didn't get the job because I didn't get Stan's voice right, which was bullshit. Like
Yeah.
I got all his aphorisms, all his little dumb quotes and stuff like that.
Right, right.
Anyway, so the idea was for the second story arcs. It was all very metatextual. So Stan is, working for Archie, and I forget the name of the guy who runs Archie. Gold.
Goldwater?
Yeah, I forget his first name.
Oh yeah.
He's like, well, Stan, we got to bring in these younger, creators to work on this book, and it's me and Chris Cross. And the joke was Chris Cross because he's like 6'6", 6'7". He's never in frame.
You
Like,
never see him, the top of him. Yeah.
yeah, so like it's me, but Chris Cross is like up here. So,
That's funny.
so I,
That's funny.
I, I had planned on doing something like that because it would have been a blast to do something like that with Stan if only he was amenable to it. And
Yep.
but
Yep. And you had done a Black Hood story, right?
yeah, I
For
did for the Crusaders. It's in Mighty Crusaders. It's a digital collection of Mighty Crusaders short stories, which I think was how you got the Fox.
well, because of you told me about it, and I guess I asked for your editor's name, Paul Kaminsky, who's now running half of DC Comics with Mark Waid, Uh, and so I think you introduced me, and I was very grateful. And I used my own Red Hook, my first Red Hook story, kind of like as an audition to say I'd
Yeah.
like to try to draw the fox or write and draw the fox. And he was into it, and I pitched an idea, and I did like a 5 or 6 pager, a backup, type thing, and that led to two miniseries and a one shot that you also
Yes.
contributed to. So, I would have loved to have done more of the fox, man.
I had an entire I wouldn't say season of Black Hood stories, but not too far off. I think I had like a full year of Black Hood stories that would have fit, uh, that would have come off of that short story that I did for the Crusaders backup, and it was bonkers. It was absolutely like nothing they were putting out, even when they did like the dark or the black circle or whatever they called dark circle, I think.
Dark Circle. Yeah.
Even like it was nothing like that. I mean, it was very superhero-y, but it was also very James Bond, very
Right.
very Nick Fury Agents of Shield. Uh,
Right.
and then there was a version of the Black Hood that I wanted to do that was kind of along the lines of what Wade did at Impact, when DC had those characters.
Hmm.
And this one I always loved too. It was Black Hood as if he were a almost like a priest, like not necessarily like religious, but like very like reverential or something. And it was the idea of, all right, we have blue collar crime, we have white collar crime. What's black collar crime? And
Hmm.
the idea of like this big, huge conspiracy that I just remember the first issue. Chris Cross and I had plotted out like a couple of issues of it, and we had this really great image of the Black Hood in this great costume. One of these days, I'll share it on Substack. Um, and he's jumping out of a building, and it's just like this, almost like Frank Miller Dark Knight Returns.
Hmm.
But yeah, like, and we also pitched a Shield as well. That was very Akira meets
Hmm.
Darcy Superior. It was a lot of fun pitching stuff with Chris. I just wish we would have had a chance to.
I know you guys were on a roll. I just discovered a cover I did for the Black Hood that in that Dark Circle that never got published. I did
Oh
two
yeah.
covers that never got published, and I realized it was 2015, so it's 11 years old now. So I'm sure I can show it. So I'm going to do a share myself.
Okay.
See if I can hear. Do you see it?
Yep. Oh, that's so good.
And basically, yeah, it's just like
Oh, it's so
him,
good.
him
That's
poking
basically that's a Coney when you think about it too. Like you can
totally.
use that.
You're right. I could repurpose that idea. And then there was a sketch I just found that I think I repurposed either for a Walking Dead cover. Let me see if I can get to that. How do can I go through my files and then, or how do I do this?
Oh, I mean, you could stop sharing and you can
Can I
look.
show this right now? Are you seeing this?
I am seeing the Black Hood.
Are you seeing a sketch?
No, just the cover of that you did.
You are screen sharing. So you don't see like a blue pencil sketch of something.
No.
All right. Maybe I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, and then reshare the other one.
You were screen sharing, stop share, and
Uh-huh.
I'll go back. And this is just a sketch, and it's here we go. Oops, share. You see this one?
Yeah, that's good. That's like an EC comic.
Yeah, it's like an easy guy. So the idea was that this guy his hand has been stabbed with a screwdriver into the floor,
Uh,
and he's looking up at the black hood, and the black hood's taking off his mask, and like the eye holes, which by the way doesn't make sense, because then there would be eye holes in the back of his head to if it was see through,
right, right.
like that doesn't work. So when you think about it, and it was just super violent. And I remember, let me stop sharing. I remember thinking like, why do we have to do Dark Circle? I know that was Alex
Yeah,
Segora's idea to kind of make it a little more, gritty and there was some good stories. Uh, and whatever.
Lance Krasinski did. I think he
But
did Black Hood. Like I thought
yeah,
it was really good.
it was good. It was very good, you know. And then they brought on some other characters, whatever. They were trying something new. Uh, I never really felt like my version of the Fox, which got a little bit darker, didn't really fit, with that sensibility.
Before we
Um,
before we
yeah.
close out, I found the Black Hood's uh, uh, character sketch, like the what do you call it? The art that Chris had. This is when I show you
Oh,
this. It's like, why didn't we get the job? It's so crazy. This is like gonna blow your mind.
what?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. I don't know how he.
That's your Black Hood with
Yeah,
crisscross?
yeah.
Oh my God.
That's
First of all, it
2011.
it looks like a Jack Kirby KKK kind of like that's insane.
Yeah,
That
it
design.
was like we had some really good ideas. Like we also, again, I don't want to, take up all our time sharing art and stuff, but
I
like,
know. For probably people
I mean,
listening,
I
but
could do this all night. But like,
oh,
um,
we got plenty. I have stuff that's never been published that like I'm still waiting. Anyway, yes, I know what you mean. Like,
you know what I mean?
but let me ask you,
Like,
that design, you can do something that's yours.
oh, I know, but it's mine and Chris's. I'm not going to do
Right.
it without him, But the things that we had planned, man, like are just absolutely insanity.
Wow.
Like we could have done a lot of really cool things. I think Chris drew my story in Lost Crusaders. Yeah, he did. So
Yeah, he
like it's
did. He
me
did.
and Chris. So we again like we were planning on doing a lot of crazy stuff uh
Yeah, man.
for Black Hood and stuff. But my goodness, like um I don't know why we couldn't have been given that kind of like free reign to do
I
stuff.
but I feel like so that was during Paul Kaminsky's editorial regime, let's say. But
No,
had that been during was that
that
during
was during
Alex?
Alex Segura's initial editorial.
I mean before I hopped on?
Yeah, this is
Because then
2018.
Alex came back and did Dark Circle. I feel like that would have fit his, except he went, with Dwayne
Right.
and who
And,
was
and
it? Michael Gatos? Who was the artist?
I think Michael Gatos did the cover art. I can't remember who did I think it was I feel like it was a Spanish artist, but it might have been Gatos doing the interiors as well.
Right,
But
right.
I mean, like, how do you, you know what I mean? Like, it's Dwayne Straczynski, who's like a best-selling author.
Oh yeah, you got it. That's yeah, I know. But this is why we have our characters, right?
Yeah,
Ultimately.
yeah.
So, did you want to before we get into those couple of topics that
Uh-huh.
we're um, I just the other day I was like, I kind of came up with a couple of verses,
Oh,
uh,
really?
for Black History Month. I
Okay.
was thinking about hip hop for obvious reasons, and I actually haven't even written these verses out. I had a couple in my mind, but it led me to an album that's one of my favorite albums of all time.
Okay.
You know the Jungle Brothers,
Yeah.
and you know the first album, Straight Out the Jungle,
I
at
don't
all?
know the album. The reason why I know the Jungle Brothers is because of De La Soul.
Well, okay, so the Jungle Brothers is the band that didn't get the same hype as De La Soul and Tribe Called Quest.
Right.
They were part of that. What was that called?
The Native Tongues.
Native Tongues, right? And they were
People watching
awesome.
this, if you watch this and you love hip hop, you're going to be like, how do they know all this stuff? Like, come on, man. I grew up in
We
New York.
grew up with it. In New
Like,
York City, we grew up with it.
yeah.
So anyway, I was listening to Straight Out the Jungle again, and every song is great. It's a perfect album. They went on to make, well, at the time, two more albums that were really good, and they have done other stuff since. Just like if you haven't been following one of your favorite bands because you haven't heard about them in 10 years, guarantee they might probably have not maybe not an album, but a couple of songs, that
Right.
they've done.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like look up these people. Like Public Enemy came with a new album last year.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And so yeah, you don't hear about it, because the way we get music is so different than how we used to,
Because there's
But I
no
had a
record industry anymore. The record industry is like shifted from being like it's weird because like where I work, I work in the department that has all the entertainment stuff like books and music. So we still get music on Fridays, but it used to be that like you could set a calendar to when music would come out. You know, I
I used to
don't
go to Tower Records all the time and get
right.
the newest album or single or 12-inch or whatever
And
the hell.
I feel like the advent of YouTube and to a lesser degree, SoundCloud has killed what we've known to be the music industry.
Right. And that's our way of understanding, which is also, I feel like, not that it's nerdy or whatever, but the way we consume music made us allowed our passions to be on point and make these historical references or like, oh, I remember when that came out with this and that. Now I don't know how
Right, right.
a song came out, right? And then did it come out last year, this year, 10 years ago, like whatever. Like it didn't have that event, that's that sense of like, like you said, the calendar and going. To me, I went like the comic shop. I don't think I went weekly to Tower Records, but definitely monthly,
Mm.
when I started buying records.
Yeah, same.
So I had this funny thing happen in the late 80s. I went to a party, a bunch of our friends, and it was a small party, like 12, 15 of us, whatever. And I knew about half of them. And I'm sitting there and I'm hanging out and I meet this guy and his name is Mike G. And I'm like, wait a second. And I realized, I was like, wait, he's one of the Jungle Brothers, like, and I'm getting drunk. And I'm like, oh my God, I love you guys. Like I played their album over and
Yeah.
over and over again. And especially my, I think freshman year of college. But anyway, uh, I just played them over and I was like, couldn't believe that I was hanging out. And then there were a couple of the Jungle Brothers were there at this party, but they were just like you,
Hanging out.
me, 10 other people in the Jungle Brothers. And they weren't being the Jungle Brothers. They were just dudes hanging out,
Me and
right?
Mike.
And I remember, I think one of the reasons why I loved the album so much at that time was because, and I said this to Mike G, and I'm so embarrassed, and he was cool about it. But I said, "Am I allowed to listen to this?" Like I thought it was made for people in the know or black people only. It just felt so. I remember the bass and the drums were so different from like a lot of the. And listen, I'm an Eric B and Rakim guy, Run DMC, Public Enemy, So, and in fact, was Public Enemy even out in '88? They might not have even emerged
I
yet.
think
I
A
don't.
Nation of Millions, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back was out in '88.
Might have been out, but anyway,
Because Fight
there
the
was something
Power came out in
raw.
'89.
Say it again.
Fight the Power came out in '89 for Do the Right Thing. And then,
Oh, that was '89. Oh, so then
yeah.
they were around.
And then
They were around.
1990, I think, was Fear of a Black Planet.
Oh, so maybe 85, 86 or something like that, like. So anyway, the point is I felt stupid at just saying how like I felt like honored to be privy. But then later on I was like, that's so stupid because this was a mass market, album.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it felt like something that had fallen off a truck and
Mhm.
and you had to be in the know and it almost felt underground, even though they had one hit on that. I mean, that I think all the songs are great, but they had that house music song,
I remember that song.
uh, that was a hit, So uh, anyway, I had that funny encounter with Mike G at a party, and just admitting how much I loved it, and I didn't know if I was allowed to listen to it. It's so stupid. And I'm trying to think. Okay, so we have a couple of topics
Yeah.
here. One, let's do the Todd McFarlane first.
Yes. Because I think
Okay.
we've already
Well,
kind
Todd McFarlane recently said, quote, I can sell a comic drawn by Michelangelo and written by my dog. And then the subtitle is Why Art Beats Story Every Time. What's your feeling?
of, I'd like to meet his dog. I mean, like, got to be 10 times more charming than Arnold on Green Acres,
You're right.
if you remember Pulp Fiction.
Well, let's break this down. I can sell a comic drawn by Michelangelo and written by my dog, meaning I can sell a comic that's very well drawn or it's superior to the well, he's saying written by my dog, but let's just say the story,
Right.
okay? And I think you and I could vouch for you right now and say I think comics is a visual medium, right? Otherwise, write a book, okay? So I get that, but I think a well-written story could have stick figures as the artwork
I think
and be a great comic book, is what I'm saying.
I can't remember who did it, but somebody wrote a comic that was like 4 white pages because it was happening in a snowstorm.
That was John Byrne
Yes. So I
in
mean,
Alpha Flight.
yeah. So
Or no, maybe Fantastic Four. I think it was Alpha Flight. Anyway.
I mean, it makes more sense with Alpha Flight with
Yeah,
snow.
yeah, yeah.
But like, what are we putting on that page? Like, what are you selling? You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
it's
also, what are you seeing? Like you're asking the reader to visualize some kind of activity in a snowstorm that's
right.
so blinding, you can't see what's going on, but you can by what they're talking about, you can kind of see what's going on.
I'll put it to you this way. I have always been of the mind that as a writer, I don't need to have an ego to write a good story. In other words, I don't have to think that I am the best writer since whoever, you
Yeah.
know. And for example, the stuff with Chris Cross that I was just showing a little bit of and telling everybody about, um, that doesn't come just from me. That's a collaboration, you know. And I mean, like, I could maybe do that on my own. I could maybe, come up with, I think I came up with a couple of the ideas for the Stan Lee book completely on my own. And if I can't make, especially like in my collaborations with you, if I can't make you excited to sit down and draw, then neither of us is going to come off, looking like $1 million. So my goal is to not only write a coherent story, that's a basic need of any story, is it has to be coherent. You have to be able to understand it from beginning, middle to end. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter who writes it, it doesn't matter if it's your dog or a monkey or uh, Ernest Hemingway. If it doesn't make sense, then we're wasting everybody's time. What makes a story make sense in comics is the idea of sequential storytelling, is the idea of how the art works in concert with the story. It doesn't make one better than the other. Yes, it is a visual medium, but I say this all the time. Like, I read comics, I read the word balloons first, and then I go back and I absorb everything. Like, I read the story and I go, okay, now I know, what I'm getting into. Um, and that's a very recent development. That's maybe my eyes are going bad, or whatever the case may be. I read all the words first, and then I go back and I try to take everything in pieces. I've read some dog shit books, man. I've
Oh,
also
there's a lot of terrible written comics that are greatly drawn,
and I've
but
also seen some like awful drawn comics that were at least partially entertaining because of the story. The thing is, yeah, you can sell a badly written Todd can sell anything because he's going to draw the cover. You know what I mean?
well, I
Like,
mean, I think that's part of the thing that's unfair about the statement is what you just said. Like he could take a dump on a cover and you
right.
know it'll sell for a lot of money. Listen, just caveat, I've met Todd a couple times. He's been very encouraging to me when they were publishing the Red Hook, and he was really cool. So I got no beef with him.
No, neither. I
I'm not
never
a
have.
I'm not a big Spawn fan. I wasn't a giant fan of his Spider-Man stuff. I'm just not that much of a fan of his. I mean, so oh, by the way, I did have some verses I wanted to do to you, so don't forget that.
Yeah,
But
I have a couple of his toys up here. You
yeah,
know,
he makes toys, great toys. And he's very enthusiastic and I appreciate, what he did with Image Comics, but one could claim that the biggest issue with early Image Comics was how poorly written they were.
absolutely.
Okay. And
Absolutely.
then they would hire Alan Moore or whoever to write some of their comics so that people would read these fucking
And Larry
things.
Martyr
Because the
was there
first
too.
issue is going to sell, and then you might get the second issue, and you might have people who just want it for the artwork. But then after a while, they're not going to come back if there's not a good story.
And as I was saying, Larry Martyr was that early image as well. Like, and he was, kind of, I wouldn't call him an editor per se, like the way we know an editor, but he was basically functioning like that. And, like, I think Larry taught a lot of them, what makes a story, like, yeah, you can draw the shit out of something, but like, if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. The,
By the way, Larry Marta drew and wrote a comic called Bean World,
Mhm,
and they were beans. He drew beans,
mhm.
and I'm sure there was more story value to that comic than Wildcats or whatever Spawn had a premise. A lot of these comics had a premise,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, they were just not as well written as some of our better comic book writers.
Here's the funny thing about early image. And again, I don't think this is part of the story of what makes a comic, story or art or whatever the premise is. But the image comics that were original, that had nothing to do with what the artist was doing at Marvel before they came over, are the ones that are still around. Like Spawn, Todd was drawing Spider-Man, so Spawn has nothing to do with Spider-Man. Like, maybe the chains you can say are the webs, But honestly, like it's about a guy who dies and goes to hell and becomes an agent of hell. That has nothing to do with Spider-Man. Savage Dragon is nothing to do with what Eric was doing at Marvel either. Eric was doing another Spider-Man title. Like, yeah, he's a superhero, but he's a cop, and like no one explains why this guy is a dragon with a fin man, green skinned man, like he just is. Like until many years later, they explain that. But then you look at Liefeld and Jim Lee. Liefeld did X Force, and it's basically just X Force, for the government. Jim Lee did X-Men, and Wildcats is basically X-Men for the government.
Hmm.
Like it didn't like it was a one for one transfer. Just
Hmm.
changed some names, put Wolverine claws on some. Same with Silvestri, Silvestri and Cyberforce, basically X-Men. Um,
Hmm.
Wills Portacio did Wetworks. It was basically X-Men as werewolves. Like
Hmm.
they're, those are the ones that aren't around anymore. You know,
Right.
Rob puts out a Youngblood every now and again, and sometimes he'll get like a Joe Casey or, as you mentioned, Alan Moore to draw a couple of to write.
Ife did a 3 issue
So it's
series, I think,
yeah,
Blood
it, it,
Strike or whatever.
so it's not like you know you got to think, man. Like Todd and Eric learned what made their story special and what how to do a comic for as long as they both have, with any kind of longevity, from issue one in 1993, 92, still going now. Like there's got to be something to their storytelling abilities that have grown since that initial, burst. Because the early Image comics, like from the 90s, are almost unreadable.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
and I think they all cop to that. I think they all cop to the fact, maybe not Todd, because Todd is a little, you know, not full of himself, but Todd's got, the smoke already up his ass that he's been pushing out slowly but surely. But a lot of guys go, we didn't know marketing. We didn't know, what we just, we jumped in because it was an opportunity to change. And I
Hmm.
think when you think about it, the change, that came out of that is Jim Lee runs DC. Like
Yep.
the idea that his little comic that could, every now and again comes back, or like they put Grifter in the DC universe or Zealot in a Wonder Woman comic, like it's cool. And it's kind of like this kind of wink and nod, like, hey, these characters have not gone away. But I
Hmm.
mean, like Savage Dragon and Spawn still going, man. That's
Yep.
crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. And actually, I might have read the first issue of Savage Dragon and just whatever. I didn't care.
Mhm.
Uh, I've been buying it religiously the last 5, 6 years, whatever. And it is so much fun and it's goofy and it's pornographic. And I just love that this guy is just dedicated. Eric Larson is dedicated to his comic
Absolutely.
book,
And that's
you
the
know?
thing. Like, I think the thing about Eric is he realizes that there was a Savage Dragon cartoon at one point, but I think he
Right.
realizes that where his pleasure lies is in drawing it monthly or,
Hmm.
bi-monthly or whatever it is. Like Todd, his passion is in making toys. Like, and he's said that, and that's why
Yeah.
this was all a means to an end to get to make toys of his own characters. And yeah, he shepherds the Spawn titles for the most part, but I don't think that that's Todd's passion. Rob
Hmm.
Liefeld's passion isn't drawing comics. Jim
Hmm.
Lee's passion, I feel, was drawing comics at one point, but I feel like he's more of a curator and a standard holder. I think that's why he works well as the president of DC Comics. And I
Right.
mean, the guy could. There's nothing wrong with how he draws or how even Rob draws. They both have their audiences, but I don't think those Batman Hush issues work as well without Jeff Loeb
Hmm.
or Rob doing the Marvel Rebirth, not Rebirth. What was it called? Heroes, not Heroes Reborn. Yeah, Heroes Reborn. Um, I think those failed because it was Rob taking on too much work and trying to
Hmm.
change the wheel too much. And then they bring in James Robinson. They bring in, uh, I want to say they brought in, crap. Brandon, oh, I forget who Jim Lee's longtime collaborator was, Brandon something.
Oh, yeah.
Brandon Choi.
Yes. Yes.
So I mean, like they bring those guys in because there's a need for them. Again, like I have a lot of respect for Rob, and I don't really like his comics per se, but I have a lot of respect for him, and I have respect for
Yeah.
anybody that does it and
Yeah.
does, and tries, like for all the times that, Youngblood has failed, it comes back, and like
Mhm.
maybe it's better this time or maybe it's worse, but like guy's still trying, like he's like us, like,
Mhm.
maybe to a greater degree because his name has a bigger spotlight or is in lights a little bit more than ours, and so therefore the spotlight being on him means um the possibility of failure is greater and
Mhm.
more public than us. But I think the reason why those other guys have gone about it better is because they've learned how to tell a story, and I think the problem that Todd saying this to me is that if it were just going to be a book that was drawn by Michelangelo, it would be a pinup book. There's no story in that. If it were going to be,
Although Don Simpson wrote recently that, I didn't thoroughly read it, but I think he said that Michelangelo drew the Bible or aspects of the Bible
yeah, on the
or
Sistine Chapel
stories about,
ceiling and stuff, and like,
yeah, God. Yeah, not that a dog wrote it, but God wrote it.
right, right.
You know.
Yeah, I read
Um,
I read what Don said, and Don is for the most part, uh, I like 100% like everything he said was like 100% true. Like there's an aspect of comic books that excels from collaboration. Um, Stan and Steve Ditko, uh, uh, Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, uh, Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. My God, like for a modern example,
mhm,
these guys, like there are guys that are like Jaime and Gilbert Hernandez who have done everything on their own. But
mhm,
my goodness, like the early Love and Rockets don't even have like have a candle to what they would eventually make. Like
mhm,
the
mhm,
idea of like the girl mechanics on the moon, like but then like he realizes like he's got to bring it back to to Huerta in California.
mhm, mhm,
How good.
mhm,
Like you realize Terry Moore might be the most pure cartoon,
mhm,
where his mission statement and his clarity of story was there from the first page.
mhm.
Jeff Smith would be another good one, as well. Howard
Jaime Hernandez, Howard Chaykin,
Howard Chaykin doing not Dominic Fortune, but the other one.
American Flag.
Yeah, American Flag. Sorry, why did I
Yeah, yeah,
blank
yeah,
on American Flag? But you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like they're like Matt Wagner doing Mage and Grendel. Like
Right, right.
yes, but I think they all
Mike Allred,
on Madman. Yeah, absolutely. I
you
think they
know.
all just had a concept of story and pacing, and I don't think everybody has that when they're just drawing. Like
Also, it takes, and this is where I'm a little bummed out because, like, there a universe where in 1995 when I created Billy Dogma, that it would be how many years later? 30,
yeah, like there's
31 years now. And had I been doing 30 years worth of Billy Dogma and Jane Legit comics, basically like Eric Larson, Savage Dragon, I think I've done more Red Hook comics than I have of Billy Dogma. Okay. And I think I've done more Fox than, not more than Billy Red Hook, but more than Billy Dogma. You know,
I mean,
I
I
think
feel like they
so.
might be equal.
So I no, I've done more like, so in other words, one of the things that I'm quote known for, because I guess it was just enough of an indie kind of like, what is that? Like I had drawn a 4-issue Verdict miniseries and other, like, and I'm talking about alternative stuff right now, not anything franchise. But what if I had the amount of and what happens when you write and draw these stories for years? Is there evolution?
Right.
Is you can see the change not only with your art and your ability to write and draw better, hopefully as you grow, but the evolution of these characters and like what happens next. And I'm remembering that I'm 58 going on 59. I only have a handful of Billy Dogma stories to tell, basically, because I have other characters I want to write and draw. Because I've had a schizophrenic career bouncing between alternative and franchise and mainstream and indie and all that. And like it's kind of weird to understand that, that fact.
I think too that as storytellers, all of us, Todd, Rob, you, me, I think we all get excited by the prospect of a new concept. Like, my goodness, you were making fun of me for months for creating characters that are going nowhere, that are literally these characters are for a backdrop of a cover. Like, I kid you not, some of them only exist because I needed a certain number of characters to fill a background. So
Right.
some of them, obviously not. Some of them I do have ideas for and stories for, but the idea, like the one I was reading, I saw that somebody had liked my post on Substack about Underboss, which is my supervillain story. And
Right.
I'm always telling Matt Major, like, I really think this is my franchise, this story. Like, I'm like, funny enough, Sean Isaacs and I were talking this week, and he's like, I'm gonna start plotting out the last Stray story, in terms of like doing layouts and stuff, because I gave him the plots already. So it's like, all
Mm.
right, we're both gonna stop doing Stray and we're gonna move on to something new. And
Wow.
mine is, and I said, like, for all intents and purposes, my commitment to Stray is over once this story comes out, but I'm gonna do one shots. I'm gonna do,
Sure. He
throw
still,
them.
if you don't kill him, you can use him anytime.
Yeah.
Speaking of, you did during the Super Bowl, there was an announcement.
Mhm.
You keep talking about this character, but you're not talking about the announcement.
Well, I wanted to wait until the end of the show to,
Okay, we can wait. We can wait. We can wait.
but going back to Underboss, it's
Yes.
so exciting to look at a world from a different, from the same world from the
Hmm.
opposite point of view. And I think that's the thing that excites me the most about it is I can
Hmm.
explore these ideas in a different way. By
Hmm.
the time I'm your age right now, by the time I'm 58, which is maybe 5 years from now, maybe six if I'm lucky, uh,
Hmm. Hmm.
I hope to have been into Underboss at least, a couple of issues deep. Because I do want to give time to finish everything else up, but I want to get into Underboss. I think Underboss is going to be my opus in terms of superhero
Oh,
stuff.
I love that. I didn't know that was what you were feeling, and I think that's awesome. You would have one artist for that, a single artist,
I don't know.
a
I mean,
dedicated artist.
I'd like to trade around and, maybe not so much in terms of like story arcs, like have different artists for different story arcs, but,
Hmm.
maybe trade off art within the same issue of like having somebody draw
Hmm.
one sequence and another person
Hmm.
draw another sequence, because I think that could work a lot.
Hmm. Hmm. Let's before we go to the other comic book thing I want to do. Uh, that
Bottom
there's a
line, Todd's wrong. Okay, go ahead.
say it again.
I said, bottom line, Todd's wrong. But
Oh yeah. Well, Todd's wrong. I mean, yes, can he sell a comic that's just great art? Of
absolutely, you
course.
can.
But I I want story.
Let me caveat that as well. Can he sell a story that is drawn by Michelangelo and written by a dog? Yes. But can a retailer sell it?
Well, what you just said, it would be intriguing. Oh, you got Michelangelo to draw and is written by a dog. I want to read that comic.
Right.
Now, but the sensibility is what we're talking about. Like,
Let's go back a couple of episodes when Nick Pahora was talking about how
yeah,
he was pissed at me for buying copies of Night Business. like, like
right,
when all not he wasn't angry and he wasn't firing
right,
me. But he's like, "What are you doing?" Like,
right.
and the thing is, I knew something about Ben, and I met Ben that night. We talked a little bit about the story, and I'm like, yeah, this doesn't look like something I would, buy immediately, but I guarantee you somebody's going to love this book. So I
Mm-hmm.
knew that going in, and I knew that we had bought books written and drawn by guys like Westone Page, by
Mm-hmm.
Manny Gill, which had like some weird, because of you, I think, and Live Journal. Like, I feel like you had a hand in making that book successful. I'm like, well, this is just as good, if not better, in terms of like artwork, and the story is just out of control and like fun. Why can't we sell this book? And I think if somebody like Phil Boyle at Coliseum of Comics, who we mentioned, like he's in Florida. I don't think
Mhm.
he could sell that book. At the time, even like I think that um, Phil is a very superhero oriented, store. Marvel and DC almost exclusively, with some Image, some Dark Horse, maybe some Boom, maybe some IDW, but not like he's not looking for Stray, for example.
I'm going to give Todd the benefit of the doubt. I think he's smarter. I think he's gaming this statement,
Mm.
meaning there are two sides to it. The speculator market
Mhm.
would absolutely buy a comic written by a dog, uh,
Drawn by
drawn
Michelangelo. Yeah, I think you're
Michelangelo. And there's enough of those people that are buying those comics every week, Vito.
right. I know.
These comics, they're not Michelangelo, but they're very well drawn. The stories are not intentionally written by quote a dog, and I know we're making fun of dogs. Maybe dogs are fucking great writers. I don't know, but I understand what he's saying, and so, but I don't think that I think that a retailer could sell this comic because they are right now.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
that's a good
he's
point.
just saying, yeah, what? Like he might be saying he might be maybe having a lot of people have the conversation. So
Mhm.
they go, we need better written comics.
Yeah, that might be. You might be right.
That could be a sneaky little kind of, a Jedi mind trick that he's pulling on us right now. So, and he's smart and he knows what he's talking about and he knows how to be sensational and yet motivate with that, you
Yeah.
know. So, all right, I'm gonna do a couple of hip hop verses before we get to the uh toward the end of our topics.
Mhm.
Oh my God, if you had to, the way we play verses is that one eliminates the other from basically ever existing, right? And these probably were my first two hip hop records. I know one of them was the very first thing, "Rapper's Delight" by the Sugar Hill Gang versus "Planet Rock" by Africa Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic
That's
Force.
not even a. That's not even a choice.
It is for me.
I would
What?
clearly African Mambata, because I feel
Oh shit! I thought you were going to say "Rapper's Delight."
nah.
To
You know
me, it's
why?
it's Africa Bambaataa and Planet Rock and Soul Sonic 4. Like
Yeah, I just listened to it a couple of days ago, and it still holds up.
it is my favorite. All right, so I think we've talked about this. If I had to pick three songs, it's definitely Planet Rock, Prince's "When Doves Cry," although it should be Purple Rain, but I love "When Doves Cry." That changed my life, "When Doves Cry," and then I always throw in a curveball, and "Fat Bottom Girls" by Queen.
Hmm.
Okay, because that's an interesting mix right there. But "Rapper's Delight" though
I
is amazing.
Yeah, the premise behind, not the premise behind it, but like how it all came about is one of the greatest stories of in music history. Like, do you like Sylvia? It's not Sylvia Brown, but um, God, what was her last name? Uh,
What,
she just
what was she?
what
What did she do? Like, what was her job?
she
Or like,
just
who is she?
happened to hear their like them, doing this
Oh, she just heard them doing it
at
with
a
the
party
Chic
or
with the
something.
Chic song, right? Like,
Yeah,
was it Good Times or no? Yeah. And then she heard that and they hadn't recorded it; they were just doing it
no,
live.
no, and I think one of the lyrics is, and I am Wonder Mike, and I'm rapping to the beat, and that's how we got the term rap.
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty sure it
Right.
might have been that they heard that from some kind of block party somewhere. But
Well, there
like,
was DJ Hercules or DJ Herc that was also at the beginning there. Okay, so
but the thing
so
is, like,
yeah,
uh, African Bambaataa, Planet Rock, Soul Sonic Force is barely a hip hop album, barely. Like it's almost like Kraftwerk. You know what I mean? Like German
right,
krautrock, like, but
right.
with rap in it, and
Well,
like,
it is Kraftwerk. They sample Kraftwerk.
yes, yeah,
So and I just felt like the idea that space age synthesizer thing. So what was great about Rapper's Delight, it really was like two turntables, right, or whatever, and a microphone. Like Afro Movado took it to another level that's still kind of ahead of its time.
The like I was saying, I literally listened to this, I want to say Sunday, and
Right.
I was just like blown away by like it doesn't seem to have aged. I could listen to that song a billion times. I could
Yep.
maybe listen to Rapper's Delight once every couple of
You
rotations.
know what Rapper's Delight is? It's the American Pie of hip hop.
Yeah.
By no, when I say American Pie, what's Don McLean?
Yes, Don McLean,
Yeah,
American
Don
Pie.
McLean's American Pie.
Uh,
And also, I would hazard, and this is a beautiful thing, that it is a product of its time, meaning
absolutely.
it is what we needed next, right? But Afro Mabata and the Soul Sonic Force took it to outer space, literally.
I mean, take into consideration that this is coming off of the heels of the Death to Disco movement. So
Right,
Death to Disco in 1977, 78, people are burning disco albums. Disco goes underground, becomes, I mean, it was always like a gay and
right.
minority staple, disco. And it's still, to lesser extents in some ways, yes and no, still around. Like I listen to Jamiroquai all the time. They still doing disco. I don't care
Well,
what
and
it.
also disco songs, I believe, in today's media, like who's the guy that does the horror stuff? He's doing the beauty right now. What's his name? He's American
Ryan
Horror
Murphy.
Story.
Ryan Murphy.
Ryan Murphy uses disco songs in his gay TV shows.
Yeah.
Like
But so now let's take that and remember what you just said seconds ago. They are sampling Chic's Good Times
right,
to create the next iteration of what urban music is going to be.
which is in conjunction with punk, meaning like the
Yes.
Sex Pistols and
Uh,
fashion and broken music, punk music, right? Like anti-establishment music. And what a great time to be growing up with hip hop and punk.
yeah, man.
That's unbelievable. And then the trifecta would be sailing. Who's that?
Oh, Christopher
Uh,
Cross. Like,
Christopher Cross. Christopher, yeah, amazing. So
and
that's a trifecta right there.
you got Led Zeppelin just about, done. So like the age of arena rock is dying. Uh,
Right,
yeah, punk rock. You got the British invasion, the second British invasion with like Duran Duran, and a lot of those bands are
right.
moving away.
Like disco adjacent in a way,
Yes,
but then we get Prince, Michael Jackson, Madonna, and David Bowie, right?
it's
And
still
so
disco. Still, I don't care what
in
anybody.
some ways, you're right, disco adjacent, funk,
The Let's Dance
soul,
by David Bowie, I believe, is produced by Nile Rodgers, which is a disco musician.
right. I
Which
met Nile Rodgers at a party
oh,
when
was it
with
the one with
Chic.
Mike
They were
G?
doing Chic songs.
Oh
And
man,
I'm standing like as close as I am to this monitor to you, like dancing to him and then hanging out and talking. It was unbelievable. It was
yeah,
a Warner Music party that I got invited to. And then she comes out, and there's like 100 of us in a room. I'm like, what is going on right
yeah,
now?
yeah, yeah.
It's unbelievable. So a couple others, and I had trouble with, and again, honoring Black History Month, which should be all year long, like the rest of us. Anyway, um, I think I got this right, and it's so hard to answer that okay, Run DMC versus Eric B and Rakim.
I would personally rather listen to Eric B. and Rakim, but my God, I cannot get rid of Run DMC ever.
You can't.
Uh, don't even you can't even underestimate what they did with Aerosmith. They revived Aerosmith's career. Aerosmith
Hmm.
was dead. They
Hmm.
sampled that song "Walk This Way," and then Aerosmith starts touring again, makes another 7 albums, if not more, since
Hmm.
then. If it's not for Run DMC being the hottest band, doing the hottest music at the time, at the right time, Aerosmith doesn't exist and do the Super Bowl many years later.
Right.
I mean, Run
Right.
DMC is hugely important.
And great albums, great songs. I mean, but then again, so is Eric B and Rakim. And Rakim, I've stated, is my favorite rapper. And I've worked with DMC. I've drawn artwork for his music.
Yeah. And the thing about Eric B. and Rakim is that like it was so again ahead of its time. Like I think like if you put on Follow the Leader, um, or Eric B. Never Scared, anything like that. Like I don't think it's like it's so. I know it like nowadays it's like mumble rap and like kind of like trapping and stuff like that. But my
Right.
God, like nobody could touch those dudes. Like,
Yep.
and it's two dudes.
Yep. Yep. Speaking of, I just wrote this down as you were saying this. Another song, two different songs that battle, and there's a ton of them, so I'm just going to keep it simple. It Takes Two
Mhm. Rob,
by
Rob Bass and
DJ Easy Rock
yes, thank you. Of
and Pump Up the Volume by Mars. Remember that?
course I
I
do.
mean, the like It Takes Two was, and it's weird when you hear it today, it's slow. That is a slow song, but at the
That's
time was the best thing I ever heard. And then Pump Up the Volume with Eric B and Rakim sampled
yeah.
in there.
I The thing about It Takes Two is that that is such a quintessential party song. Like people play it at their weddings now. Like it's so huge. Like it
Yeah.
gets everybody excited. Like it
Oh
gets
yeah.
everybody pumped. Uh, Pump Up the Volume is, I think, for those of us that grew up in that kind of um, not club culture, but kind of going to shows and going to clubs and stuff like that in the 90s and stuff, like maybe late 80s, early 90s. I think that's the song that like, you know, man, I used to break dance when I was a kid. That was the song,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
that was it.
Yep.
But It Takes Two is just like, let's get every girl dancing on the floor. Let's get every guy, like, it's such a huge song.
So good. It's so good. I think I would pick It Takes Two. As
I,
much as I love the Pump Up the Volume, what's great about the song is it's a real journey,
Mhm.
and then it has that line, Mars needs women, like, and then it draws the women out to the dance floor, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and it's also, like I said, it's ahead of its time. I think maybe in this case to its detriment because it's such a club staple that
right.
I remember being at clubs. That song came on, and I remember everybody just getting off the dance floor,
Yep.
get a
Yep.
drink and stuff. And it's like, oh, at some point, like every song goes away, but like
Yep.
It Takes Two does not go away, man.
No, it doesn't. So I think It Takes Two. So this next one, I have a couple more because I've been writing down as we've been talking. That I actually had a different verses, but I realized this is more, it has to be, it has to be more political. And I think we know who the winner is pretty quickly. It's Public Enemy
Mhm.
versus, and I think it has to be NWA. It has to be left coast versus right coast or east versus west. And they're both political. They both, got in trouble with the government,
I think I think Public Enemy is. I don't want to say they're not political, but I think they're radical. I think it's
Okay.
to um,
Well, there's Fuck the Police versus uh Bring the Noise or whatever, right? Like
Nylon One as a joke. You know, um,
all that stuff.
but I think the thing about Public
And
Enemy
they're
is
more intellectual.
there's that. I think Public Enemy is like I don't want to say Public Enemy is the Nation of Islam versus NWA being the Black Panther Party. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like that's
Hmm.
the politics of it. Like it's like um, Public Enemy
No,
is
no, but then there was Farrakhan and Elvis was a hero to most, but he never meant shit to me.
right.
You know, he was dropping,
No, no, that's what I mean. Like I think that Public like in this
Chuck
not
D we're talking and Flavor Flav and
yeah
Flavor X and
not in the content per se, but in the kind of even fashion sense, but in the presentation of it. I think with the S1Ws behind them, very Nation of Islam. Uh, you have Chuck, who's very uh, the way he command. I've seen Public Enemy in concert, and the way he commands a stage, and just like his rawness. And then you have like I don't want to call him a joke, but he's there to
well,
kind of
Flavor Flav is the Joker to his Batman, to Chuck
right,
D's Batman,
right.
and Chuck D kind of looked a little bit to me like a Martin Luther King,
Yeah, yeah,
while acting like a Malcolm X.
yes. but
right?
what I then like we shift over to the West Coast, and NWA is definitely influenced by Run DMC, by everything that's happening on the East Coast, like because they're coming after. But I think, the gang culture that Compton, South Central was, involved in, with all of the Bloods and Crips and stuff. I think they have a more, like I said, I used Black Panthers, but it's really more than that. And I think they spoke from I can't remember which one said it. It might have been Ren. It might have been Dre that said they were like the newscast. They were like CBS News, NBC
Mm-hmm.
News for the streets. I
Mm-hmm.
think that it's crucial. Yes, they were subject to a lot of like the Two Live Crew type of scrutiny that they got, but it was more uh, anti-establishment than it was lyrics or profanity. It was more about saying "fuck the police," more
Yep.
saying that I'm going to put you know busting caps and stuff
Yep.
like an underground and an undercover cop, that kind of thing.
Yep.
It's subversive. It's subversive speak by guys who are just tired of being held down and like literally
Mm-hmm.
put at the barrel of a gun
Mm-hmm.
to acquiesce to the establishment.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think the thing about Public Enemy is they're so mobilized. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was his name? The guy that was in charge of the S1Ws.
Oh, Professor Griff? No. Yeah, yeah.
Like, he was so whoa, man.
Yeah.
He was radical too.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he,
Yeah.
the thing about choosing one over the other is, I think it all comes down to your allegiance. Like, are you? I don't think it's like an East Coast West Coast thing, but are you like mobilizing, or are you standing up from the streets? I feel like it's NWA.
You're enemy, I'm public enemy. I'm
Yeah,
public enemy.
and I love Public Enemy. I've seen them
Yeah, yeah.
in concert, but like,
Yeah.
and what I think I mentioned it too. I've seen every member of NWA except for Eazy-E in concert.
Right. Well, that's funny because I my original thought of Public Enemy, and then it was obvious it had to be NWA because of what we just discussed. But my original thought was Strong Island versus Staten Island,
Oh, Wu-Tang.
Wu-Tang Clan, and their cast of characters, right? But like they're not doing the same type of music, at all. So then I was thinking, what is Wu-Tang Clan's versus? And then I thought of another band that I thought was actually another NWA versus, which is Ghetto Boys.
No,
But it's not Ghetto Boys.
I think Wu-Tang is one of those rare few things that exists that is almost incomparable to anything else. And
Well, especially they're like the Avengers, right? They all have their solo titles,
it's
their
not
team
even
book.
it's not even that. I mean, it is, but it's not. It's more like they have one Flavor Flav, and that's ODD, right?
Right,
You could say Method Man, possibly, but Meth goes hard sometimes on those on some of those songs.
right.
The thing about Wu that nobody else has is they have RZA and Jizza, and those two are amazing producers. Like, I don't think Dr. Dre comes anywhere near them in terms of production. The way they layer their samples that come from kung fu movies, old funk albums, like
A Scarface, Al
RZA brought
Pacino,
up, huh?
Al Pacino.
Like RZA was talking about a sample that they pulled from like a 1960s spaghetti spy thing and played it back. Like, where did you see this movie? I grew up on Staten Island too, man. Where did you go?
Right, right,
Like, I literally grew up a mile, if not less,
right,
away from the Park Hill projects where a lot of them grew up.
right.
So I went to the same places that they would go. Where in God's name? I watched the same TV shows that they watched because we all had the same four channels. I
Yeah,
didn't have cable. They didn't have cable in the projects. I know for a fact they were watching Channel 11 at Saturday afternoons Kung Fu Theater. Get
yep,
out. where did you get this sample from? And
Yep.
I think they're so above comparison to another group. There's no other group like them. There's
There
no
isn't. There isn't. And think
closest
about
thing.
that. Just and think about the cast of characters. What other I mean, I mean, again, I initially thought maybe a Public Enemy versus because of Flavor Flav, Chuck D, Terminator X, Professor Griff, all their cast of characters, right?
Right.
And then NWA also has like a bunch, you know. But Wu-Tang
NWA is
really is,
close because
huh?
everybody did solo albums, and everybody in Wu-Tang has done a solo or a side
Right,
project or whatever.
right. Well, like
I know
Dre, Ice Cube, Easy E,
Ren, MC
right,
Ren,
right.
but
Um,
you want to know what the closest comparison to Wu-Tang is, and you're going to laugh, and everybody watching this and listening to this is going to be like, "You're out of your goddamn mind." It's Leonard Skinner.
what?
Because seriously, think about it. Leonard Skinner
I don't really know Leonard Skinner that well,
or
so.
the Allman Brothers. Like it's like this huge band where
Right.
everybody's contributing.
All right. You know what the real answer is?
Huh,
Parliament Funkadelic,
there you go. That's exactly correct. It's two
Wu-Tang
separate
Clan.
genres, like,
Yeah.
again, just like I was saying, Leonard Skinner and Allman Brothers, but it's just the idea of these parts playing. Santana is another good example. Like all these
Right.
parts playing their own specific parts, but it does not detract from the overall story of the song
Yep.
that they're playing. Like
Yep.
Funkadelic is one, Santana's another. Like Wu-Tang, like I feel like they're all within. And man, I've just elevated Wu-Tang in some people's eyes just now, but it's true. Like
It
it's
is true. It's
like
totally true. It's
not
totally true.
diminish one person. You can't diminish Raekwon the Chef's contribution from Dickie Betts' contribution in the Allman Brothers.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a
Right.
similar thing.
I have a couple more, and then we'll go to the comic book thing.
Mhm.
Uh, I I was having a tough time with the verses of figuring out, and I still don't know the answer. So you're going to help me out with this.
Okay.
KRS-One, Boogie Down Productions, right?
Uh-huh.
With oh God, what was his DJ who died? Uh
Scott
oh my
LaRock.
God. Scott LaRock. I I did think Dr. Dre and like Snoop Dogg and like, I mean it's a weird kind of combo, I mean,
Mhm.
versus because, then I was also thinking KRS-One is very political, so maybe he's up there with versus like a Public Enemy or something, but it
Right.
wasn't that group effort. It was just a couple of guys.
Mhm.
And Boogie Down Productions. So it's really hard. I can't figure out who his verses is. And then suddenly it popped in my head. I went, but it's not DMX. But then I was
No,
thinking, who's DMX's verses?
not quite DMX. DMX, because he's a solo act, I think that's the temptation to go with
Except
him.
he was part of a group. Wasn't he part of a group like Rough Riders or something?
That was the group that backed him. That's
Okay,
similar to Eminem and D12,
got it.
um,
Okay.
which I wouldn't compare Eminem and D12 to. Um, I forgot who we were just talking about, but like I wouldn't compare that. I think Karis
Well,
one.
there's DMX, there's KRS-One,
Um, I'll
and
tell
it's
you.
hard. And I don't know why. I think it's important. Listen, I have a KRS-One album in my car, like that. The Bridge is Over, and
Uh,
all those minimal beats that he had, and incredible stuff.
I'll tell you who KRS One's comparison is. Doesn't sound right, but it's correct. I think it's Ice-T.
I almost brought up Ice-T, and I think you're right. I think you're right.
And the reason why is because they're both kind of doing a similar thing. Again, I mean, if not Ice-T, it's Nas, being like the voice of like a generation's
Well,
voice.
that might be the modern contemporary verses, but I like sticking with
I
Ice-T
think like, I
because
mean, because again, they're both talking. Think about
was it Cop Killer or
Criminal
something?
Minded and think about Colors. I think those are
Right.
the songs by one of each, and I think
Yep.
that's why I kind of picked Ice-T because like when
I
one
like that.
matchup, and I just like KRS One. I think is just he's a poet. man. Like there's just
Yep.
something about it. Like, like he doesn't sound like a poet. He doesn't, his delivery's not that of a poet. It's not soft. Um,
Right.
it's not florid, but it's deliberate. And
Right.
Ice-T, there's something about his voice that always kind of like, it doesn't, it's the lyrics, not the voice. Whereas
Right.
KRS One is both.
Right. Right. Maybe DMX. Well, I can't figure out DMX, but and it suddenly popped in my head as well. Tupac and Biggie Smalls. They're not verses. They literally had a rivalry, and they
That
probably both got
I
killed
feel like
because
that
of it.
rivalry was manufactured and they've played into it.
Oh, absolutely. But like as unique as DMX is, his voice, I feel like Notorious B.I.G. Biggie Smalls was definitely unique in the way he rapped and you know uh all right, well we'll let that slide for now, and I'm going to end on this before we get to the last part, which is uh verses. Ready?
Mhm.
Beastie Boys Paul's Boutique versus Beastie Boys Check Your Head.
Paul's Boutique is a seminal piece of work.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about Check Your Head is it made you stand up and think like who's playing this music? And it's them.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
like
them.
the thing about the Beastie Boys that a lot of people don't or they know now, but like they didn't know at the time was that they were in a punk band
Yep.
way before License to Ill. So think about that. Rick Rubin seeing them playing punk music like or hardcore music, in like little clubs around NYU, and he goes, "You guys are funny. Let's do an album." And they do this dumbass album of like drinking and stuff like that. And Paul's Boutique takes that concept and just like it's almost on par with like a De La Soul, Jungle Brothers, Tribe, like in terms of it's not like License to Ill. Like it's very psychedelic. It's very it's very forward thinking on their part. And I remember it failing bad. Like the
Oh,
album
really?
terribly when it first came out because they were like, "Where's the party anthems?" And like
Mm,
like they put out "Shake Your Rump" first.
mm-hmm.
At least that's the first video I remember seeing. And like the rest of the album's not like that. Eggman, the, like talking
Right.
about throwing eggs at people, like
Right.
it's just
Right.
stupid.
Right.
Like, but
And
like,
then they did it again with the third album. They flipped the script. They just
no,
said, and to me, if between the two, as great as Paul's Boutique is, and like you said, seminal, and actually you couldn't make that album today because of the sample
all
rights
sample.
alone, the costs. It's Check Your Head.
Check Your Head came out at a time when I was in college, and it hit me at the right time. Like, like, oh, like, this is the Beastie Boys? Like, what are you talking about? But like the thing that I love about Check Your Head and Ill Communication are the instrumental songs that they play on. Like there's just straight instrumental songs that they do that are just jazzy and like, full of like fuzz and like feedback and stuff. And it's just like the musicianship on this album is incredible. Like imagine had they done that years ago.
Yep.
Now,
Yep. No.
I want to ask you two questions before we move into my comic thing.
And
Um,
before we do what do you mean your comic thing? What do you mean?
the thing you hinted at a few minutes
Oh,
ago.
no, no. I was going to get to the Comics Journal. Well, I want to talk briefly
Okay,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But do you have these two? Is this
Well, today is the 12th of February, so that means Saturday is Valentine's Day. I wanted you to think, what is your favorite love song? I'll tell you mine.
uh
I mean, it
I don't
changes
know
all the
why
time.
this popped in my head. I'm just gonna go with the pop in my head. I don't think it's
Yeah,
the answer. Uh, I can't live if living is without you. What's that song?
that is Eric Carmen
No,
or Mariah
no,
Carey.
no, no. It's the put the lime in the coconut. That guy,
Oh, Harry Nilsson.
Harry Nilsson. I think it might be a Harry Nilsson, and I can't live living without you. I can't live. I can't. Da-da-da.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's not my favorite one. It's just the first one that popped in my head when you said love song. So
that's good.
I need to think about it. But I mean,
The
I want to say Prince, a Prince song, obviously, but and I think my favorite Prince song of all time really is not Windows Cry, but Adore, and Adore is a love song.
that's great. That's a really
So I mean, I would technically have to say Adore, but who's the other? They're so corny. Two white dudes.
Air Supply.
Air Supply.
Why do I know that?
How
It,
did you know that?
because when you say two corny white dudes, I know it's not Hall and Oates.
It's not Hall Notes, right? It's Air
Gotta
Supply.
be
What's
Air
their
Supply.
song? What's the Air Supply song?
I'm all out of love. That one or uh,
No, oh shit. Let me look it up really quick. Hold on, hold on.
the one that I like is well, I like Body and Soul by John Coltrane. I like
Oh, oh, wow, okay.
the,
Um,
the Elliott Smith. Everything reminds
oh, Making Love Out of Nothing at all. Making love out of nothing at all.
Everything reminds me of her by Elliott Smith, and
I don't know
Everybody
that.
Here Wants You by Jeff Buckley. I think are two of the more modern ones that I really like.
Wow.
But
I don't know. I listen to those. I mean, I
Body
might
and
know
Soul.
them.
I think you would know the Jeff Buckley one, but maybe not the Elliott
Right,
Smith one.
right, right. I,
He's
I mean, I also want to say, but I don't think it's a turn around
oh, that's totally Cliffs of the Dark
of the heart.
of the Heart. Think of the Dark. What am I thinking of?
And but is that a love song?
I don't know. That's a
Total
hard one.
eclipse of the heart might be a breakup song.
Yeah.
Anyway, there are a billion of love
Oh,
songs that you can just.
there's music is nothing but love songs when you think about it. You know,
But I think it's "Adore" by Prince, everybody please listen to that. It's incredible right from the very beginning. Uh, okay, there was another one you had another question?
yeah. Shit. Spider-Man Noir. Did you see the trailer? Because I sent it to you a little bit ago, like earlier
You
today.
know, I didn't see that. I didn't watch. I have not watched it yet. For some reason, I'm not interested in it at all.
I
I
think you
will.
will be once you see the trailer. It's a really goofy, fun-looking show.
Okay. Oh,
I
wait,
see
it's a
that.
TV show,
Yeah, it's going to be on Amazon. Um, and it's Nicolas Cage as Ben Riley, Spider-Man Noir.
which
Uh,
I've never. I know that one of our pals, Fabrice Sapolsky, co-created Spider-Man Noir, and I don't know if he still has a policy against signing any comic that's
he
a
said
Spider-Man.
he posted on Facebook, "Don't anybody ask me about it." God bless him. But the thing I like about it is it's Nicolas Cage as a superhero. That's always like the goofiest thing. Like
Oh, totally. And I think he said. I think I did read somewhere that he's 70%. Who's Maltese Falcon? Uh,
Humphrey Bogart.
Humphrey Bogart and 30% Bugs Bunny.
It totally is.
70% Humphrey Bogart, 30% Bugs
Yeah,
Bunny.
that's
All right, maybe we can do this pretty quick because I did you read the Comics Journal article I sent you written by Greg Hunter called Deadpool versus Batman, basically versus Batman versus Deadpool, and the title is The World's Last Superhero
did
Comics.
read that.
Now, I tried to read it, and it's not that it was poorly written, it just felt overwritten.
It's a lot to read.
And there's a lot in there, and at some point I think he cites in the I think it's the Batman Deadpool, or maybe it's Deadpool, whatever, which one? Where Frank Miller drew and wrote is it Deadpool versus Wolverine
I
story?
can't be because
And
that
I think it's like 4 or 5 pages long. And I remember reading it, and it's in that funky, recent, Frank Miller art style that I love. It's like brutalist art.
right.
The story's very simple and has like, I don't know, a punchline, basically, right?
Mhm.
And that's what you do in 5 pages, okay? And
Talking about
I
that
think
earlier.
they cited that as being that Greg, I could be getting this wrong, saying that might just we're done. That's it. That's as far as we've pushed it. And he talks about Grant Morrison. He talks
Mhm.
about all the different writers who have contributed to the genre. My issue with it, and I almost wrote this, check out some Kickstarter comics, some Kickstarter, like check out the independent because I feel like listen, you're closer to doing, I would say, more mainstream style superhero comics. I have a tough time trying to do mainstream, and not because I don't like it. I'm
Mhm.
just not good. I don't know how to think like that, like where
Sensibility.
more appealing. You're more appealing. Mine is a little more off center,
Your
right?
sensibility, I've always said you are a beat poet doing superhero comics, which
Right.
is, like it goes into your Kirby-esque dialogue, but I like whenever I used to read Opposable Thumbs and Beef with Tomato and Billy Dogma, um, that's what I got a beat poet, like
Right.
the last descendant of Jack Kerouac and
Right.
Allen Ginsberg and William Burroughs doing a comic book, which,
Which is a high compliment.
and
I
it's his
appreciate
own
that.
thing. You know what I mean? And especially when you're putting superheroes into that same filter, your sensibility is not going to be that kind of mainstream sensibility.
Right.
To
And
my,
so it's so with you, I feel like you're doing your alternative thing as well, but you're more appealing and to a mainstream audience, which is a good thing because you get more eyes on it and more appeal, more people wanting to read those comics. I'd be curious. I think in your new bootleg comic that you've been producing might be veering more into a commentary, let's say, versus an homage versus uh an audition to say, hey guys, in some ways Stray admittedly was like, a veer away from Nightwing, but also someone could read that and be like, get him to write Nightwing. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, but
Uh,
I think though, like I looked at, say, Gerard Way doing Doom Patrol.
mhm.
That's somewhere between the two of us. Do you know what I
Oh,
mean?
totally, totally.
Where, and even, I don't even think I'm that mainstream compared to, say, Al Ewing. No, Al Ewing's definitely not as mainstream as I'm making him out to be. Um,
Mhm,
Al Ewing, who does Incredible Hulk now, I think, but it
mhm,
might be Immortal Hulk or something
mhm,
like that, and he's doing Mortal Thor, I think, as well. But
mhm.
like, like a Kurt Busiek or Mark Waid, like those guys are mainstream. Brian Michael Bendis, mainstream, and I
Right.
don't think I think I have their like somewhat of their sensibilities, but not entirely.
Mhm.
Going back to the article though, I like the idea that they're proposing that these are like, shut it down, everybody. We got it. We're done.
We did it.
Yeah, I like that idea because it's the same thing going back to the crazy topic of Pam Bondi uh, testifying yesterday against Congress and just screaming the entire time. And it's like she had said that has if everything in the files came out, it would collapse the system. And
Mhm.
all of us are like, cool, let's collapse the system and start. And that's why if Greg is saying that this is the last superhero comic, great. Let's make superhero comics now. It's like the king is dead, long live the king.
Yep.
It's like
Yep.
I'm all for everything that he is saying, like all the sensibilities and all the tropes and all of everything that he's mentioning in this article. I'm all for them dying because it'd be great to see what comes next. Uh,
But
no,
and I hear you and I appreciate that and I think you're basically the both of you are right in that way and in some ways it reminds me of in 2023 when I quit comics so I can make my own comics kind of a thing, right? It's the same idea. Um, the only issue I had was the metrics, which were DC Marvel. That's basically what he used to be, and I understand why.
yeah, yeah.
But I'm like,
Who's
have
gonna
you
read the
looked at
articles?
Kickstarter? Have you looked at the independent com? There's a lot of people doing superhero comics, and maybe they're not that great, and maybe they don't move the needle, But I do feel like some superhero comic. I mean, hell, I can't really name them, but I guess if you're doing parody of comics, like satire, like a Don Simpson,
Mhm.
you know, you can always dig nuggets, some narrative gold and find new ways to tell superhero stories by making fun of them. You
Right.
know, are we saying that Marvel and DC have the keys to the car of superhero comics? Like, and I don't. I mean, Matt Wagner, Mage. There are definitely other people going outside of the system
Mhm.
to tell superhero stories, even if they're superhero adjacent.
I think the other thing that
And we're not counting those in that article, is what I'm
no,
saying.
no, and the thing is, who's going to read the article if he doesn't mention Batman and Deadpool or Deadpool and Batman?
Of course.
It's an
But he's saying that those were the last comic. He's like, we're done. In some ways, again, it's not fair for me to totally comment on the article because I haven't fully read it. But my initial takeaway is like, so now we have these crossovers. I know we're doing another Spider-Man, Superman crossover, but this particular one, which is just a money grab, it's a stunt, right?
and I think
What are these guys going to write and draw?
I think
What is
that's
Frank Miller going to write and draw?
the other part of that is like you have to look at when society sees that a civilization is dying, the first thing they do is they try to assimilate it. You know what I mean? Like they try to like if there's something, trying to think of a good example, um, but like it's like a company merger type of thing. Like
Mm,
if AOL is dying, oh, let's let Warner Brothers buy it. You know what I mean? Like
hmm
same thing with Marvel and Disney and stuff like that. It's like if you can figure out a way to make money by buying something, to repurpose it for something, then somebody's going to figure it out until there's one company left in the world. And I think
hmm
that's the other part of his article is that are we at the point in superhero comics and comics in general where we have to be saved, quote unquote, by a Marvel and DC crossover? I think
hmm
that's a bigger death that he's talking about than anything else. Like it's not
But
so.
we didn't bring up, and you read it. Did he bring up Absolute Batman and that there's an absolute line now, and
I
that's
don't think so, but
maybe saving DC Comics right now?
right. I don't believe so, but I would have to, read it again. Like, I mean, I've skimmed it completely and got all the salient
Got
points.
this,
So
yeah.
I might have missed him mentioning it, but
Because also I feel like Absolute Batman or the line of Absolute Comics. Again, I haven't read those either, but my initial instinct was like it felt like Monty Keene bootleg, versions of or the Image Comics version, of their own franchise, right? And I understand it's an adjacent universe where they can play with ideas and change things up, and that's always fun,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
But I feel like Absolute Batman might be doing better than Batman.
Probably. I mean, also, um, Batman is being currently written by Matt Fraction, who's one of
Right,
us.
right,
Whereas,
right.
Absolute Batman is written by Scott Snyder, who is a superstar. And that's
Yeah,
not saying Matt's not a superstar. To me, Matt is one of the better writers out there.
yeah.
But
I mean, they're both great writers. And
right,
again, it's not fair that I'm not reading these comics to even talk about it. But going back to the article, it just seemed like, okay, I guess where we have the wall stops at DC and Marvel. Like that's our superhero comic. And I understand why one would think that, like, but I did wonder, are there alternative comics being crowdfunded and just going in people's mailboxes that are superhero comics that are elevating the genre in some way,
mhm.
and I'm not even going to put myself in there because or us. I don't know what the answer is. Is it Russ Kazmierzak? Is
Oh,
it
yeah.
Monty Keene? Is it,
Summit Comics with this new thing that they're doing,
right, that we don't
G-Man
even know
Comics.
about?
That's the thing. Like G-Man,
Charlie McKelvey is one of us, and
yeah,
he's doing with Zion and Blind Squirrel. He's doing, Spider Squirrel, Trash Panda, Ray Anthony Height, like, but are we too close to Marvel and DC with what we're doing?
I think I don't think that's an issue at all. I don't think it's about the adjacency of it. I think it's about the marketplace. We don't we don't get sold in stores. We're doing it all ourselves. There are some, like
We're
especially
not in the conversation anyway.
right. And I think
Right,
that's to
right.
our benefit.
Well, that's to our benefit, but at the same time, that's also what I'm talking about is to reject or deny that. And yes, it means putting a hold on your own article to go find some of these damn comics and
Mhm.
say, oh, you know what? Actually, superhero comics have moved over here,
It's
or
funny
where
'cause
they're going.
we always end up doing those panels at conventions of independent superheroes, and it's getting old at some point,
What makes an independent superhero?
but at the same time, it's like, well, we're just trying to let people know we're out here, you know.
Right.
But
Yeah.
speaking of superhero comics, I'm going to share something with you right now with viewers all over. Here's your Monday morning quarterback. Ready? Um, so let the internet know that yes, I am doing a new Stray issue that is currently up being it's not launched, but we're in the pre-launch era, and I'm going to reveal the issue one cover right now.
Oh boy.
Here it comes.
Whoa. Wow, that's nuts.
This is the first anyone has seen this. Uh,
That's beautiful.
uh, this is a cover by Benjamin Morse, uh,
Wow.
who is currently getting ready to launch Cobalt Crisis. He's also part of the Summit universe that's currently being kickstarted. But
Right.
this is his cover for Stray number 3. This is cover A. There are
What's brilliant about the cover is that from top to bottom, you have literally flipped the script, visually, where the main figure of Stray is looking down into what I imagine is a big puddle of blood.
Mhm.
But you don't know what's behind him until you get to the bottom of the cover because the amount of the blood that's spread and what's been cut off at the top. And then you get your title at the bottom, which is a no-no from the very beginning of marketing because of the idea that we rack our comics. So you only see the title and then you have to pull out the comic. And in other words, at Nick Rapour's, in Ron Hill's store, JEQ Comics, they're gonna have to have this just sit out on on its own
Yeah.
if you because otherwise you're just getting like a partial figure looking down at a puddle of blood and realize, oh, and he's hurt. Is
Mhm.
that his blood?
Yeah.
That's a lot of blood.
Well, he's a big boy.
And then you see some kind of menace, and it's beautiful. It's great. You know what it reminds me a little bit too, for some reason? Gene Ha.
Hmm. I'm
I
sure
see
Ben will
like
like that comparison. This was actually, we were going to do an homage cover to a JSA cover from Jeff Johns' run, where Crimson Avenger is standing over Wildcat, who's been shot and he's bleeding out, and it says JSA in the blood. And
mm,
he came up with this composition. I was like, oh no, we're doing this.
this kills. This
Yeah.
is and I love it too because it is you are messing with I mean, talk about I mean, I'm not saying that this is going to change superhero comics, but this is what I've been talking. This is what I mean. Like just doing something a little different, you know?
Mhm.
It's great. I love it. And I love the colors.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Like it's pretty great. I mean, we have a couple of other covers as well. This is cover A. Uh,
Right.
Cover B is the Stray as a luchador, like a Mexican wrestler.
Do you have those have you shown those yet or not yet?
That one, it has been shown. This one has not been shown.
Do you want to show that while we're here?
Yeah, give
Or
me a
do you want
second.
to save it for next week or just we'll show it while we're here? Well,
Yeah,
okay,
so
the point is the reason why you're also showing this is because there is a pre-launch page for Stray issues 1 through 3.
yep. This is
And then
specifically number 3, but yeah,
that's for 3, the A cover. But the campaign is for 3 issues. How many issues total is this story?
this story is 8.
So are you gonna be doing them
Technically
one at a
7.
time after that, like 4,
Yeah, I'm hoping
5?
to do number 4 by the end of the year, before the end of the year, just so we can get 2 done in 2 every year. But yeah,
So,
this
so
was
we've discussed this issue of trying to do single issues of like, let's say an 8 issue or 6 issue or 5 issue arc. Where did you and I assume Charlie is obviously involved in this.
uh,
How do you feel about that? Do you feel like that's going to be difficult to run a campaign in that way?
I think no. I think the thing is, like, if we keep offering the other issues with, I think that's the best way to grow or keep your audience interested. because there's still going
Okay.
to be people. Let me tell you something. Craziest thing that happened a couple of days ago. I went on to Threads, which is Facebook owned, but totally separate, like a totally separate, what do you call it? Experience in terms of the
Social media experience, you mean, kind
yeah,
of?
like it's a little bit
Okay.
different. But the the thing about Threads is like in a very old um kind of Twitter way. Actually, no, I don't think Twitter actually did this. I was able to single out my audience for just comic books. And I wrote, if you're looking for a new superhero comic and you want to start at the beginning, check out my thing. I've never had more than 50 views on a tweet. I have over 1,000 views on just that.
Wow.
Now, does that translate to people going to the pre-launch page and looking? Not necessarily, but
Right.
I've gotten 40 something so far, and it's been pretty good. So
That's awesome. That's
here are
awesome.
the other covers. There's still
Okay.
another cover that I don't have treatment yet, like the cover treatment for, but
And
this
let me ask you about that. Like, doesn't that is that an extra cost and burden? I love that cover too, man.
this
This
is
one, this is D. It's like half cyborg, half dog, right?
yeah.
Like, and this is the one in it was at the end of issue 2 that he's been shot or something or found.
End of issue one, he's been beaten to the point of almost dying. End of issue two, he is revived as a part cyborg.
Right, right. So this is 3. Yeah, that's a great. I love how minimal that is, and the way the yellow works on this cover. It's beautiful.
And now let me show you the other cover. This is cover B, and this is done by Colm Griffin. That one is done by his name is Hoy Din. He's with We Arts, WEE Arts. I believe that's his name on Instagram. Uh, but this one is one of my favorites. It's like I had to like make sure people knew, yeah, this isn't exactly the actual cover.
So this reminds me of an image, like a modern image comics cover. I
Yeah,
don't
because
know
I've done a
why.
lot of wrestling comics.
Yeah, yeah. It looks good, man. It's really. I love the colors. It's psychedelic. You know.
I mean,
Uh.
even like a glare on the belt to make it.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. It's
I would
great, man.
I'm very excited for this. I mean, Charlie's pumped for it too, which is great. You always want your de facto publisher, but more importantly, your friend to really
Yep.
get behind it.
It's
So
great.
if you go to iamthestray.com, that is the pre-launch page that you can go to and sign up to get notified when it goes live.
Yep. It's great. And I do agree. Like if the next campaign is you know, you can either get issue 4 or get issues 1 through 4 because
Right.
you haven't gotten any of them,
Mhm.
and then so on and so forth. So, and at the end of the day, I mean, what are you selling the comic for? Have you done the pricing yet or the
Not yet.
tiers?
Not yet.
Okay, all right.
But the other thing I was saying to Charlie was um, I don't think we should solicit this in like the Filbo catalog that he
Mm-hmm.
blind squirrel through uh, until we have a trade. And
Okay,
he's like, no, don't worry about it. I'm like, okay, because I wanted to
okay,
make sure we had trades of volume one and volume two, for stores, so that way they could,
right.
because I'm going back to what Nick Papora was saying about having your library and your catalog always up and ready. And
Yep.
I think, the idea that, like, my idea was, all right, I don't want this to be given like volume three, Requiem. I don't want it to be given to uh, retailers until it's collected. So
Hmm.
there is a chance that we'll do one collection for issues one through four, and then do another collection for
Sure,
five through eight, or
sure.
we can do the one complete one. And it's always about trying to figure out how to get the most bang for your buck.
And how would you add anything new to the volumes, like to for fans that to sweeten the thing, would you have a short story or something brand
Well,
new just for the collections?
we're going to do an omnibus collection for volumes one through two. and it's going to have a complete all those characters that I mentioned that I made up.
Yep. Yep.
Everybody that matters is going to get. We're going to do a handbook that will then put into 3 issues, separate issues, uh,
Right.
down the road as well. But that'll be
Right.
the omnibus collection, then the three
Right.
issues going on.
Cool.
So
Cool. That looks great, man. And I'll promote it. We'll
thank you,
do
man.
the best we
Appreciate it.
can, so. And
Uh,
a quick question. Is the contents done?
oh yeah, no, like the only thing that's not done is the backup story, which we might not run. We might hold
Okay.
off for another issue, but it's dependent on things. But I do want to say that the Kickstarter for Orphaned Works ended successfully, and
Yep.
they're now taking late pledges if you haven't already pledged. There are 15 more days for the American Yakuza 1 through 5 that we were just talking about, Charlie and Zion Studios. A couple of other Kickstarters to check out. Check out the G-Man comics by Rick Offenberg. They're always very good. They're always very much Silver Age, everything you like about, comics sensibility. There's also the Summit Universe Kickstarter that just started up, doing very well. I think it's already funded as well. And like I said, Ben Morse, who did that cover with the blood and the reflection, he's a part of that. So,
Mhm.
I think he's also done a cover for that as well. Check out our t-shirt, which you can find the link down below in our description. Also, we are taking donations to upgrade our equipment because I think Dean set it off mic, but man, some of those Spotify episodes, they go from loud to nothing. Like, so I gotta do like like remaster some of them, at some point and re-upload them. But we want to make sure that the future ones come across, better. We're always trying to do better. Next week we have a guest. Do you want to announce who our guest is?
Well, have we done that before?
No, but we can keep it secret.
Let's keep it secret because you never know if it's gonna not happen. I
Oh,
mean,
good
it should
point.
happen.
Yeah.
It should happen. But we can tease that it's a person that has been involved in creating new universes several times.
This,
And that's one of the things I wanted to talk to him about.
this will be a milestone episode, so to speak.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
But until then, thank you very much, everybody, for sticking with us. I think this might be our longest episode ever. Uh, James is very excited to see you guys, and Sadie is back there playing a game. Oh boy! Now, when I say their name, now they talk.
Want to keep a secret.
You guys are oddballs and don't include us.
Oh boy!
You blew my cover.
Yeah, I blew your cover.
I also got a candy necklace.
What are you eating?
Candy.
Okay.
Candy. That'll put you to sleep.
Yeah,
Well, they don't have school tomorrow. That's why.
Oh, okay. Okay.
this is the last part of the episode. I'd like to give a moment to sponsor our sponsor, NordVPN.
Get a load of this guy.
No, everybody, listen up. So, basically, my name is LeBron, and LeBron is Epstein's husband or something.
Oh no! Let's not. No. That's enough. Thank you, everybody. You made it this far.
Thank you.
Cue the outro music now.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll see you next week, everybody. Have a good night. Have a good week.
Nighty night.